On the occasion of the yahrzeit of my Rebbe, Hagoyin Atzadik, Moreno Rabbeinu, Rav Shlomo Leib Brevda Zatzal, I want to relate a story that I heard last Motzi Shabbos, and the truth is I've heard the story many times. Amen, Yehei, Shmei, Rabbi, Marach, Lama, Me'edayah. And the story is that when the Rav had to go to England because he wasn't well, so his Rebbe, yeah, Rav Chatzkel Levenstein, was consulted, and he said about Rav Brevda, this time, a number of times, he said, Hashem has put me in the world for one reason, to have a Talmud like Rav Shlomo Brevda Zatzal. Yeah? That Rav Chatzkel considered one of the major reasons why he's put in this world to have a Talmud like Rav Brevda. And we have to ask ourselves, Rav Chatzkel Levenstein had many great Talmidim. What was it about Rav Brevda that was different than his other Talmidim? And that Rav Chatzkel could say that he was put in the world for this reason. And I think we could suggest like this, that Rav Brevda once told me this is a very big principle for all people who want to be have a shpor in Klal Yisrael, right? Rav Brevda said from Rav Chatzkel, what's the job of a Rebbe? Is the job of a Rebbe to take his Rebbe's Torah and to just teach it? He said, no, Rav Chatzkel said. The job of Rebbe is to take the Rebbe's Yisodos and to bring it to the next generation. Because this generation is not like the last generation, and certainly not the one before, and certainly not the one before, and not like the next one that will be. Right? Every generation is different, and for that reason, the Meiri says in Pirkei Avos, if you learn it well in the introduction, he says that the reason in Pirkei Avos it says Huay Omer was in every generation the Tanaim said made statements. They had mission statements according to the needs of that generation. If you look at each Mishnah was according to the needs of that generation. And this is the job of a Rav, to take what he learned from his Rebbe and to apply it to that generation. To apply it to that generation. And this was the godless or Brevda. He knew how to speak to the generation. He knew how to speak to people. He knew how to make people laugh, and he knew how to make people cry. Right? He would talk to us, and we would be on the floor laughing. And then he would like hit us with the hardest, most powerful Musar Yesod, and it would go straight in. Like he would say for the Dubna Magid, you want to give a kid medicine, first you tickle him, and while he's laughing, you put the spoon in his mouth. And Rabbi Brevda was a master at distributing medicine. And he gave us exactly the right medicine needed. And that's the only reason, in my humble opinion, that myself and the other individuals who can call themselves Talmidim can really exist and flourish in this generation. Because he taught us how to transfer the Torah in the most beautiful way to the next generation. Of course, I don't consider myself a worthy Talmud. I don't feel that I even got a fraction of what I could have from the Rav. But what I got is precious. It's diamonds. And I'm so grateful they had the opportunity to be in the mechitzas, to be connected to such a gadol ba'anakim. I once asked for a Brevda about a certain sefer, and he told me, Kabbalah. Whenever he spoke to a Brevda about Kabbalah, he was very, very anti, because he held before, you have to know the basics. You're a Shemayim, coming to shul on time, davening like a mensch, learning with asmada, shalom bayis, being nice to your wife and your children and your friends, saying hello to people in the morning. Rabbi Brevda held that these were the things that we really have to internalize and know. And Kabbalah was not first priority. But by his Levaya, when his son-in-law of Yaslovich spoke and said that he once asked his father-in-law, "How could it be? You learn Kisvei Agro. The Agro is filled with Kabbalah. The Agro is filled with Kabbalah." I'm Zoka to learn with one of the tzaddikim Mistarim of Yerushalayim, the Sefer Desnusa, which the Gra penned commentary to. And you look at that, and you learn Mishle, you learn Shir Shir. The Sifrei Agra are filled with Kabbalah. Yeah? So how can it be? So said Rev Yaslovich, of course Rev Brevda knew Kabbalah. He knew it backwards and forwards. But he never let anybody know about it because he didn't want to be estranged from the generation. He didn't want people to think he's this person in an ivory tower where people can't have a connection. Rev Brevda knew how to relate to the person who was farthest away, who was like barely holding the Torah, and he knew how to relate to the biggest Aviv Gadol. As the son said, Moti Shabbos, he would come into the Stipler, to Rav Shach, to the Chazon Ish, to the Brisk Rav, and they would stop everything to speak to him. This was Rav Brevda's godliness. And Rav Brevda really knew how to relate to each person. I was once in Keter, in cancer hospital, Sloan Kettering, and there was a nurse there, a non-Jewish nurse, who asked her up, "How are you doing?" He said, "I feel like I'm on the New York Yankees." He said he was in a wheelchair, he could hardly move, and she said, "They could use your help, Rabbi, because they're not doing so well." He knew how to make people laugh, and he knew how to make people cry. And one doctor said once, he said, "I met a lot of Homo sapiens, but I never met a person until I met the rabbi." And this was Rav Brevda's godless. He was a mensch. He was Suras Adam. When Hashem created man, he meant that a person should be like him. Yeah, a person who cared about every single Jew like he was his own son. I met yesterday, 2 days ago at the Kosel, one of his Talmidim who attended our Moti Shabbos event, and he told me he had such yedidus. Each person felt, this is like me, he's like my father, he cares about me. When we would call, and it would ring, and go into the machine, and you would answer. He said, I got a lot of calls today, but I only picked up because I heard it was you. And he said that for many, many people. Many, many people felt that they were the only person in his life. And this was the great, great, great loss we sustained when Rav Brevda's Neshama left the world 10 years ago. But the good news is he left behind a legacy. He left Talmidim, he left Svarim, he left Shirim. And B'ezrat Hashem, we're hoping to try to get out a regular email of his Divrei Torah. So please be in contact with me if you would like to be part of this group at dytravis613@gmail.com. B'ezrat Hashem will be zoiche to continue the Rebbe's Torah and spread it throughout the world. Amen. Kain Tehiratzah.